Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Carry On Friends, the Caribbean American experience. And I'm excited because this is another episode of Circle Back when we circle back to the guest who
Mhm.
came on the podcast many moons ago. And we are going to catch up with them. So, in this episode, I'm circling back with none other than the Andrew Clarke, Executive Director of Brata Productions. And so let me tell you, Andrew was the very first guest on the podcast. And anywhere I see him, I tell people that he's the very first guest on the podcast in 2015. He appeared in episode number 4, which was released in February 10th, 2015 to be specific. So, Andrew, welcome back to Carry On, Friends.
Thank you for having me back, Carrie Ann. Great to be back here.
I'm so excited for this conversation. All right. So I'm sure a lot has happened since the last time you were on the podcast in 2015. So before we catch up, tell the audience about you and Brata Productions.
All right, so my name is Andrew Clarke, as you mentioned. I'm the founder and executive director of Brata Productions. Brata Productions is a multi-pronged performing and presenting arts organization. We present and perform theater, folk performance. We do some education work in after schools and senior centers, and we have a suite of family festivals that are presenting annually: Banker Caribbean Culture Festival, Caribites Food and Music Festival, and the wildly popular Christmas Grand Market.
Wonderful. And I mean, Andrew, you know this from the last episode, but I'll tell the audience this. I love Brata Productions. I came to the black that I am that you did back in 2015,
Hmm.
and grew up on exactly what Brata Productions is doing. You know, the Miss Lou's, the folk singing, the everything. So for me, what you're doing is of utmost importance in the preservation of our culture and allowing that to be digital, right? Because it's one thing to do those performance live, because we do live performance. But
Hmm.
what's important in what you're doing is capturing those performances, because other people then get to experience that, and in a way you are preserving aspects of our culture. You know, much things used to be on JBC that God knows if you
Yeah.
ever can find it again,
Nope.
it's gone.
Yeah, that fire that took out JBC, we lost all of Ring Ding. We
Oh my.
lost every single episode of Ring Ding. Yeah, man. So a lot of our history has been lost because we failed to digitize all of this stuff that was living on tapes, and the hurricane happened on fire, and who fall out with who, and suddenly, this particular part of our history, has been lost forever. So we're thankful for the awakening that the 20s has brought us, that we now have technology that we can capture these things and bottle them, and hopefully we can wait that the little the time capsule, we can drop them in
Yes.
a time capsule. So now we're gonna drop a little thumb drive with all our sang them, and we video them, and some kids 50 years, 100 years from now, they're gonna open this time capsule and be like, oh, this is some groovy music. Well, I'm not gonna say groovy, but whatever. This is some whatever music from back in the day, back
I
in the
know.
20s.
I know. So when we spoke at the time, Brata was 6 years old, and now it's what, about 14,
For 15 this year, actually.
15. It's
Yes.
going on 15.
Yeah, man.
So what's the difference between the 2015 Brata and the 2024 Brata? What are like maybe two significant changes that have impacted and catapulted the growth of Brata Productions?
I think a clarifying of our mission and vision. We were very sharply focused on showcasing Jamaican culture, and that the last few years we've shifted, and I think quite to our benefit. So we're reaching a much broader audience now to focus on the wider Caribbean. Cause you'll talk to the average New Yorker, and it's easy to find Caribbean cultural representations in New York, because Jamaican people know with their all about, and the other islands often bemoan the fact that they're overshadowed by Jamaica, because we've got the athletes, we've got the food. Like there's a travel blogger now that's talking about the best foods in the Caribbean, and of course him list Jamaica as number one, Trinidad as number two, and Haiti as number three. And there's a whole conversation about who has the best food. Jamaica oftentimes overshadows all the other islands, and so we felt it part of our mission, it was important to make sure that we're amplifying those other islands because they have stories too that are really important. And highlighting things like not everybody sound Jamaican. Like most times people hear Antiguans and they hear Grenadans and they're like, oh, y'all are Jamaican. No, their sound is distinctly different from ours. And for them beef patty, although Jamaica the original beef patty, I got taste different from food beef patty. So in the last few years, we've shifted focus to highlighting the milestone anniversaries for each of these islands. So 2 years ago, Jamaica and Trinidad celebrated their 50th anniversary. So, of course, we started our shift from that year. Last year, we celebrated, gosh, this was a few days ago. We celebrated Dominica. That was Dominica, I think, turned 45. Kitts and Nevis was 40. And the Bahamas, the islands of the Bahamas, was 50. So that was their celebration. This year, Haiti is turning 220 years. They're celebrating 220 years of independence. Grenada is 50, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I think, is 45. So we have, and St. Lucia also in the mix as well, celebrating another milestone anniversary. So now we're going to uplift those islands. So it's not only been about Jamaica for the last few years.
I love that. I love that. And it's so in alignment with what Carry On Friends is, because I could have started something about Jamaicans and I'm like, that wasn't what I wanted, because I remember distinctively when I moved here from Jamaica, I left good Alvernia and come to America and went to school, and then I heard all these accents and I was just like, wait, what is going on? And I remember that my high school experience was so enriched by my interactions with my Grenadian friends, those who are from St.
Mm-hmm.
Croix, those from St.
Yeah.
Vincent, the Haitians, and I'm just like, I'm not going to create a platform just for Jamaicans, right? There's plenty out there. I want something that's more inclusive, because now my culture is a little bit of what the Trinis, the St. Vincent, and all of these people do or say. Like there's a very specific language or the way we speak, because now we're infused with these other Caribbean cultures. I'll never forget when somebody say, are you coming? And they say, yeah, just no. And I'm like, wait, I don't understand. What is just no?
Now
Versus
come or not.
no,
Like,
yes, exactly. Versus Jamaican say, me soon come.
yeah,
Versus
yeah,
them
man.
say,
Yeah, yeah,
just
man.
no.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you've come to embrace that, and when you're ready, you use just now along with your soon come, all
yes,
these things.
yes.
So
Yeah,
that,
come on.
right, it adds to a
Yeah.
richness. And all you said, like the vision and realigning that to a broader goal, because Caribbean, we are seen as, what do you call it, a geopolitical region, and
Mhm.
collectively we are the force. And so I love to see when brands are incorporating that collectiveness to also push culture forward. So the last time you were on the show, you tell the story of how you decide, say, you know what, you're a good Florida, and you say, you know what, me just I go pick up and start one performing arts company. So
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about that origin story, and then I want to go into a question
Mhm.
about something you said in an interview. So tell us about that origin story.
Yeah, man. So back in the early 2000s, I lived in Florida and didn't have much of an avenue for expression, cultural expression. There were theaters there. I didn't know of any Caribbean performing arts schools, but in Florida, you have to drive and everything far away. So you're dispersed. And I all the time growing up in Jamaica, whenever people hear me sing and perform, they'd say, "Oh, you should be on Broadway. You should be on Broadway." So I thought, let's go to New York. So I packed up my car and drove up to New York, but quickly, got a rude awakening that, and no, because you can sing and act, no means you go get your name in the marquee. It's a lot more work than that. You've got to be armed with lots of talent and connections. And I came here with a thick Jamaican accent and a Jamaican role I give it to it. 20 years later, 15 years later, not much has changed. And so Brata needed to be birthed to give Caribbean American artists like myself a platform to be our most authentic self.
I love that. And I love that you said the Broadway thing because you were recently in a Broadway production of The Harder They Come. And
Mhm.
guess what, audience? He was the sole Jamaican. And correct me if I'm wrong, you were the sole Jamaican, aka the Uncle Jamaican.
So for most of the time on stage, I was the sole Jamaican. Thanks to the awakening around the pandemic, we started in theater. There's this thing called understudies and swings that are prepared to go on at any point in time. And there was another Jamaican born actor in that outfit. And so one night I had to, very, very early on in the run, I had to cover one of the leads for the show. I had to go on with like a day's notice for one of the leads. And that Jamaican covered my role. And so for a very, very limited time, we had two Jamaicans. And still, quite honestly, out of a cast of 20, a little bit of with that. They
Hmm.
could have did have enough more Jamaican on the stage. So yes,
Yes.
I was happy to be one of two Jamaicans on the stage at any given point.
And the reason why one or two Jamaicans it's still significantly little bit is because The Harder They Come is a very Jamaican production. Like
Mhm.
the movie itself, I don't know how many people are familiar with the movie with Jimmy Cliff. That really helped. It's been said that The Harder They Come really helped put reggae particularly further on the global map. And so it was interesting, in terms of why so little Jamaicans were in this production. And so I want to get to this thing that I'm sure you've heard where people are going to say, why them couldn't put a more Jamaican in there, or why they can't have more Jamaican actors or Caribbean actors with a better accent. And a lot of times I say, yes, that is true, but it's not, like you say, so easy.
Yeah.
There are reasons why there are not enough of us. Some that we play a part in, and some where the industry plays a part in. Can you speak to the person who says why they can't have more Jamaican or Caribbean people in productions, movie, theater, streaming, wherever that involves us and our culture?
Yeah. Yes, I'll address that, but me know one them people are gonna cuss me. Me cast member them cuss me. So let me make the distinction that we were one of only two Jamaican born actors, but there were other actors there that had Jamaican parents, so they're Jamaican. But to answer your question, it's a very layered thing. There are a number of reasons, and as you mentioned, it's both industry related and we have to play a part in it. Um in Jamaica, I don't think a lot of and that may have changed since I've left, but certainly when I went to Edna Manley, for example, Edna Manley did not prepare me for New York City. I went to Edna and I was at drama school and I never got in a dance class if I didn't friend up some of the people in over dance school and go jump in a one dance class after school, if I never found Dr. Watson at the music school and beg him to give me some free lessons, because I never have no money for take voice classes with a world-renowned opera teacher, I wouldn't have gotten the little bit of introduction to dance and music that I did. And luckily I'd come to Edna Manley um, already being an achieved singer. And so I wanted to keep on honing my talent. But had the school been focused on treating and training and preparing the whole artist for the performing arts world, we'd have been much better. I mean, a lot of schools that you go to in the US, you get on-camera training. Even though you're training for theater, you're still training to be able to audition for commercials, for film and television. You get dance training, you get accent training, and not just about accent reduction, which I had to learn when I came to America, but you learn the oh my god, the international phonetic alphabet that allows you to be able to take on accents from right around the world just because you've learned the rudiments of pronunciation and accent creation. So we're just not simply armed for first world competitiveness as actors. And then the other side, and this is not going to be a very popular opinion, but some of us just don't take the craft seriously. We just think because we can sing and dance and act, we don't believe that we must continue to work on building that craft and study the craft and study the industry in which we're entering. Because it's not just about talent. It's not just about raw talent. So that's one part of the equation, and then the other part is the industry and the powers that be. You know, the folks that are in places of authority and the decision makers, they're not Jamaican, they're not Caribbean, and so their idea of authenticity is oftentimes skewed. It's funny when my American friends try to imitate something they think this that I've heard, or the way I speak, and I'm like, no, I don't talk like that. That's actually, and they immediately hear me talk, and I just said the word here with an H, and them say, oh no, you said ear, and I'm like, no, I didn't say ear, I said here. So there's this purveying idea of what the Jamaican Caribbean sound is, and even that, a lot of times you hear on these shows, you hear what is supposed to be a Caribbean accent, and it's like, no, but which country? Because all of our accents are different. We're not all Jamaican. So the Haitian accent sounds distinctly different from a Trinidadian accent that is not a Jamaican accent. And so the people that are in power, that are decision makers, them don't really care about the nuances of our accents. They don't really care about the nuances of our lived experiences. And so they give you a broad brush kind of like idea of it. And if them hear an actor come in there that sound kind of sort of like what they think Jamaican Caribbean people sound, they're like, oh yeah, that's it. And some of them, quite honestly, will shy away from an authentic sound because they think that an audience will not relate to it. It's not going to be able to be heard by the people that buy movie ticket and come at the theater. They're like, oh no, i.e., folks of the Caucasian persuasion are not going to be able to understand somebody if you're good on in the racha, patwa, and chat. So they're not going to understand. And so they would much prefer to present a sanitized version of the Caribbean voice and the Caribbean experience. So yeah, very, very layered problem there.
All right, two things. I sometimes feel like this idea of not having a thick accent is going to be a turn off. If that were the case, reggae music wouldn't have been as popular as it is because they're not modulating for an audience that doesn't speak our language. They're singing. I mean, there's, I mean, we're not talking dancehall artists. We're
No.
talking reggae artists.
Yes.
So if you think
Foundation.
of, you think about Bob Marley. Yeah, Bob
Yes.
Marley interview. He's not speaking him a good in the patois,
Yep.
and then he's speaking Rastafarian speak, which going I and this and that
Yep.
and all of these things. If you
Mhm.
think about the burning spears and all of that, like they're really getting into the accent. So I find that a bit of an excuse if they're
It's a
saying
cop out.
that,
I
yeah,
think it's a cop out. Absolutely. I'm
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you think of something like Sarafina. When you saw Sarafina in
I
theater,
loved it.
we never understand what them are saying say some of the time. But you believed in the experience. You're suspended and whatever. You don't understand. You get it based on context. The same for when they're telling Hispanic stories. Gosh, did not forgive me in the Heights when they did in the Heights recently. They
Plantanos and collard greens.
those folks they were adamant that we needed to present this story in an authentic as authentic a fashion as possible. And this movie that they had recently, um Hispanic as well. It's oh gosh, not remembering the name of it. I watched it on the plane one of these times. Really, really big Hispanic movie that came out recently. It was a animated movie.
Oh, is the one with we don't talk about Bruno?
Yes. So
I
many
should know
elements
it.
of
I
it.
should know it. It's
So yes,
Enchanted.
you should.
Encanto. Encanto. My kids watch it all
Encanto.
the time. Yeah.
So many elements that were authentic from their culture, but them never business say we English speakers never understood. They were about representing their culture in as authentic a fashion as possible. So yeah, but I think what's key in stories like that is that the decision makers at the table were from the culture, and so they were about, yo, listen, if you're gonna do this, you're gonna do this right. And oftentimes we don't have a seat at the table. And so that's why the decision can be made by us.
Yes, I'm gonna come back to another question, but I want to clarify something that you also clarified, right? And this is why research is important. So, where I got the sole Jamaican born actor from, I should have fixed that because on Carry On Friends, we don't believe. I personally do not believe that you are not Jamaican because you are born here. My pitney them go tell us that they are Jamaican. Them born a foreign, but they're gonna consider themselves
Hmm.
Jamaican.
Yeah.
So I should have said I am now aware that the other performers in that production are of Jamaican Caribbean heritage, which is important. I
Yeah.
am not specific about they have to ban Jamaica. As long
Mhm.
as they have cultural heritage, that is good for me. So whether you're born there or you're of your parents or whatever, that's good enough for me. So I want to clarify that. My apologies to the rest of the cast. Y'all wanna we? Because that's just how my kids are. Like
Yeah.
that's just
I'm
how
a
we go.
Jamaican.
We are Jamaican, right? The consulate is going to treat you as such. The Jamaican government, if you can produce your parents' stuff that they were born there, then you will get a Jamaican citizenship.
Passport. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, man.
so, um, so that aside, so I also wanted to talk about this idea of people are like they couldn't get a Jamaican actor, and it doesn't quite work this way because theater, movies, they're very unionized, right? And so you can't just pluck up a Jamaican person for an
Mm.
American production. And I
Yeah.
learned that working with the Herman Hall of Everybody's Magazine. And
Hmm.
when he had to bring the Oliver Productions to the New York tri state area, I learned that they had to go through this process in order to make sure that you tell the unions, the theater unions in New York, that you're not stealing jobs from people who are in the New York area that are of the theater. This is very authentic Jamaican plays, and you
Hmm.
can't just swap out people in there. So
Yeah.
I want you to talk to me about the role of being in a union and what does that play in just casting Jamaican people or Caribbean people into productions, whether that's on Broadway, off Broadway, just theater generally, or on
Mhm.
screen.
Yes. So for actors in theater, the union is Equity, and then for film and television is SAG-AFTRA. If you're not a member of the union, you're essentially going to be at the back of the line. Those non-union actors for theater are typically the ones that will have to show up to an audition, at 7 or 8 a.m. in the morning and sign an unofficial list that may or may not be honored, and wait around for hours and hours until 5 o'clock when the audition done, with of being seen hope of being seen. There's no guarantee because preference would be given to equity actors who then can go on the equity website and sign up for a slot. And even then, you are tussle. You have to wake up probably 8 o'clock in the morning, but at least you wake up in your bed 8 o'clock in the morning and just signing up, and then you can go back to your bed to see when you get a slot. Non-equity actors, they've got to show up early and hope that they get seen. Another way that you'd get an audition slot is if you have an agent. And a lot of New York actors go and are not represented. So they're neither in the union, so they can't self-submit, and they don't have an agent that can submit them, or a manager that can submit them. So there are a number of layers to getting in the room to even audition. And unfortunately, it's it's probably a lack of information, really a lack of information that Caribbean actors them no know say all of them something they need to happen. So them just come and think, listen, I'm gonna just make it on the big white way, but it's there are layers, lots of layers you've got to peel away at.
And also the audience, right? So I hear what the audience wants, but I'm like, if they're not people who pay the fee to be in the union, then
Yes.
it's not your like you said, I just know this, right? But I wanted you who are in the space to say this. If you're not part of the union, it makes it harder for you to get a job. It's the same thing with the Grammys. Did you pay your fees to be a
Yes.
part of the Recording Academy Association? So if you didn't pay your fee, you can't
You
vote for
can't
your
vote.
album. So if you are complaining about who won the Reggae Grammy, it's because your favorite artist is not a member of the Recording Academy, and
Mhm.
so they cannot vote on which
Yeah.
album gets, the top reggae, the
Yeah.
reggae Grammy of the year. It's
Mm.
just plain and simple. So that's where you said information and knowledge. And I remember I was at a dinner party and somebody's like, so what is the membership fee? I'm gonna say it's not a lot,
Mm-hmm.
based on, it should be something you budget for. It's not, but it's not like it's hundreds and thousands. It's a
No.
little bit of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it's like this
At
is
least,
what.
at least for the Grammys, equity enough money. And don't get me started on that because I think our initiation fee is something like $3,200. Some crazy like in the thousands. And mind you can pay it in installments. But think of someone that is not getting shows. If you pay $3,200 is like a lot of money.
Exactly, right? That's a lot. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, right? But again, it's a goal that you set.
Yes.
I honestly feel like the Grammy isn't that much
Oh no
money.
man, no man.
The
No, no,
granny a little bit of money compared to
definitely.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but again, this is one to tell the Carry On Friends audience. Yes, we hear you. Yes, we know that we want more Caribbean actors, whether they're born in the region or their parents come from the region, to be in productions, whether in theater or on film or wherever. But it's good if they are members of these unions, because the unions get first preference. So
Mhm.
next thing. So while you were doing the PR for Harder They Come, you did an interview with the New York Foundation for the Arts, and you just kind of mentioned it, but I wanted to kind of quote you. They asked you about why you started this, and you kind of said it. Then there was my accent. I have a thick Jamaican accent, and I still do after thousands of dollars and many hours of accent reduction coaching. It was especially challenging as I was auditioning for characters who did not sound like me. It is very rare you come across Caribbean shows or characters in mainstream American theater. There is not a lot of focus on authentic representation in the mainstream theatrical space. This was a reality check because I realized there was no space for me. So I went back to the drawing board, and that's how you came up with Brata production. All right. So when me read this, me go, Saint reduction?
Mhm.
What? What? Come on, talk to me. Explain to me. Explain to me what is
Because
going on.
everything else that you do is a twang, you know? Me can't walk into the audition and say, I'm gonna audition for American role sounding like this. So you gotta find the authentic sound. And that takes a lot of money or a lot of skill. Like those British actors, me don't know what in the water over Britain, but the British actors can be anything they want to be. So the British actors stay stealing American roles, and I say stealing.
No, no, I saw a Netflix documentary that say they talked about what his name, David O, who got the role of Martin Luther King in
Mm-hmm.
the thing. Like I noticed that all the British accent, the actors, they can then do any accent.
Yeah,
You
man.
even Idris, all of them come
You
right down.
remember? You remember House?
Yes,
He's
he's.
British,
I know.
British actor. We I never know. House of what down the aisles of the hospital, sounding quite American. So yeah, you walk into these auditions, and even after thousands of dollars with an accent coach, you know, some casting directors will go, I hear an accent. Where you're that, you don't sound like you're from America. I'm like, I would $1,000 ago. I would $1,000. I mean, did that 5 years ago. I still pick up some come fry. It's discernible. It's sometimes people are able to pick you. And what my accent coach said, many years ago was that it's you don't have an gosh, native American sound. So Native American speakers have a particular they have a particular rhythm to their speech. It's not just like saying water. That's not enough. There are lots of technical things that a trained ear are like we on the opposite side. No matter how good somebody's Jamaican accent is, like I watched a movie recently, Canadian film, and the actress, she is Jamaican American. And I was really, really like I thought she was an American actress, but she born in Kingston, and her Jamaican accent was good. But I knew that she never lived in Jamaica. I knew I could pick it up because there's just certain things that natively you just know, you gotta know. So those are the things that casting directors pick up. And me, I tell you, say them they're not likely to give a non non-American an American role before they consider an American for it. Similarly, I remember auditioning for a production where adults were playing kids, and the casting director really liked me. I want Jamaican role. Me I audition for, you know. Me not get a role. Me not get the role. And when me go watch a production, me say, oh, okay, only did one the Tin Pan Jamaican. But it sound too Jamaican for no. And then she proceeds to call me and ask me if I could play like one of the founding fathers for another production for her. And I'm like, ma'am, make it make sense. Make it make sense, ma'am. Like, give me the role that I wanted, not this other founding father business. So those are the challenges that you encounter sometimes in the industry.
All right. So I mean, so like an uptone Kingston twang might make it pass for a little no.
Mm-mm.
This that oh okay.
Them a gonna
Cuz
know. Them a gonna know, man. Them a
I
gonna
mean
know.
when I mean okay, maybe if they want a reduced accent, they still want the accent but it's a little bit reduced. Would a Kingston uptown Kingston person get away with it or
Oh,
no?
oh yeah, man. Yeah, man. I think it's possible. I think it's how much again the folks that are behind the table are willing to take how far they're willing to take it.
Mm,
I think that ultimately is the deciding factor because some, you know, in during the pandemic and the lockdown, I think there was a lot of pushback in the industry about authenticity. And so I think people are paying attention a little bit more and are becoming a little bit more cognizant of misrepresenting, but we still have a long way to go. And I think ultimately, no matter how you knock it, you know, the powers that be are gonna put out the art that they are comfortable with, and being comfortable with something means you sometimes don't face the reality of what it is. And when all is said and done, we need to get in places of power. That is where I think the ultimate deciding factor is going to be, that we need to support Caribbean art when it comes out, so those shows can run and we can when authentic Caribbean performances. You know, there are a lot of productions that are Caribbean. There are a lot of Caribbean arts organizations, not just Brata production, Conch Shell production, something positive. A lot of Caribbean arts organizations that are doing work here in New York City. Support those folks so they can continue to tell our authentic stories. But also, we need to band together and put together with two little shilling them, because we can guarantee you, say, if we did have the money, the financial power to say we're gonna join the producing team, we're gonna create a production company that's gonna only be focused on telling Caribbean stories. Then, and we're all Caribbean in the room. I mean, imagine the power. We wouldn't need to have a discussion with anybody else but ourselves to say, all right, which show we're gonna do this year? Is it Grenada, Trinidad, Jamaica? You know, and where we're gonna find these authentic actors. And you can rest assured we would find the talent that we needed. But that only happens unless we're the chiefs in the kitchen.
yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. All right. So, what's next for you? Are you have more theater productions that come up? We all right, we're gonna catch up on TV because okay. So it's a lot, the one thing I know about this, when another Jamaican comes on the show, me go down in the accent. So let me bring myself back up on the accent. So let me bring myself back out. I know you did a commercial in Jamaica, right? So what are your plans, or what are some of the activity happening stateside? Are there plans for TV, or are we just staying in theater? Like, what's next for you and Brata Productions?
um, Very good question. I think we'll have Brata film division emerging in this other 50 in the next this the other side of the 15 years. We've been talking with Carla Bryan Williams, who is our artistic director, and we're in the workshop right now working on a script for what we hope to be our first short film. So yeah, that is in the works. It The hope is that that will give us a much broader audience. You know, there's no denying that theater certainly has a limitation, but because when one actor go from film to theater, everybody knows them. When an actor goes from theater to film, they're like, oh, but everybody in the theater knows them. So we're aware of the broader appeal that film and television has. So that's one of the divisions that we plan to add to our suite. We're in our 15th anniversary. Our Crystal Gala is coming up on the 2nd of May, and we hope to make that a big splash because you only turn 15 once, and that's really a remarkable milestone. And I'm not saying that just because I'm at the helm, but it's been a journey for the last 15 years, and the pandemic, lots of nonprofits closed their doors, because of funding and just the reality of navigating, the difficulties of the pandemic. So we're happy to have reemerged from there, and we're stronger than we've ever been. And we are going to be taking production off Broadway. And so that is our next big fundraising campaign. We're going to be launching that in February, and we're calling it a people powered campaign because we can't do it alone. Off Broadway is an expensive prospect. It's expensive venture to take on, and so we need community support both to fund it so that we can get there, we can pay the bills for marketing and promotion and rental of the theater, and to pay our actors. So we're going to be doing two shows in rep: the Brata folk singers in concert, and on opposing nights, each of the productions will be playing. So the Brata folk singers in concert normally involves choral music that is inspirational songs, reggae, Caribbean classics, little calypso, and of course folk music. And then on the other side, we'll have two plays. The first directed by Faye Ellington, with Maylin Lowe and Delia Harris, and it's a production called Fallen Angel and the Devil's Concubine. Long title, we're just going to say Fallen Angel. And the other production is Night Woman by Jeline Robinson, and that just recently had a very successful sold out run in at the Barbican in London, and so it will be coming over to New York. So we'll be doing a fundraising campaign for that in February and putting ourselves up on the marquee somewhere off Broadway. And we hope that this is going to be the first of many that we will be able to tell our stories on a mainstream stage.
And Carrie Ann from Carry On Friends will be there in our patent leather shoes. I'm just messing. I'm just messing. No, I'm so excited, so excited for all of this. And of course, when the time comes, you share with me and I'll share it with the audience how they can support this
Mhm.
grassroots initiative to fund what Brata is doing for our culture and representation. So I'm so excited. So before we go, which is the number one folk song people request for Uno to sing?
Hey, gosh, everybody has their favorite. I think if the Jamaican, it would be like long time gal or evening time.
Yes.
Those
Evening
those two are
time.
like, yeah, those two are like tops. And then sometimes you'll meet somebody and them say a really obscure one. I'm like, that in our repertoire, but we don't perform that often.
Oh,
You
so what is your favorite?
One of my favorite would be Yellow Yam.
Hmm.
When me roast the yellow yam and me slice it in a two, how nice it will be with the ackee and the saltfish. You know that one there?
Mm-mm.
Lord jeez. Well, enough folk song what me love. Another one that's a favorite of mine is Donkey Song, which coincidentally we'll be launching. We did a music video for a folk song,
Wow.
a Dinky Mini song called Donkey Song. So tell me which month the goat learn to call. January, February, March, April, May.
I
You've
heard
heard
that
it
one.
before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, man.
but I mean evening time makes sense because the reason why evening time makes sense is like for me at the time when we're going home, that is what I we used to hear when JBC signed on in the evening, right? I can't
Mhm.
sing like you evening time. Work is over now, it's evening time. Yeah.
Mhm. You sound like you could have pull a alto section, man.
Listen,
You
listen,
could
listen.
train your voice to pull a alto section.
Listen, if you want to put me to work, we can't just give me a call. But I just love like that type of stuff. Like, I remember my primary school teachers, they were just so important because primary school was a time where they used to groom you for festival, and so you
Hmm.
had to go through this rigorous, like, knowing songs, singing in rounds. I'm like, I loved singing in rounds and all of
Hmm.
this songs. So I just love it. So thank you for circling back with me, Andrew. And we'll be doing some things. We're gonna link up and do some things. But tell the audience where they could find you and Brata Productions online.
We are on all, well, most digital platforms. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, X, me almost said Twitter, all Brata Productions, Braata Productions, and our website, brataproductions.org, not .com, but org, because we're a nonprofit. Yeah, so check out us on social media or on our website.
All right, Andrew. And as I love to say, you have to say it with me, right? As I love to say at the end of every episode, we say, walk good.
Walk good. Me can say the rest.
Yeah, go ahead.
Walk good and good up walk with you. You know there's a
That's,
song for that, right?
I know, but me not
Walk
remember all
good
of these
every
things.
day and good dopey walk with you. Walk good on your way and good dopey walk with you. Walk good every day on your way. Walk good, good follow you. If you just walk good, my friend. If you just walk, I tell you walk good again. If you just walk good.
Wonderful, Lord, me love it. All right, guys, take care.